A customer returned a half-eaten birthday cake because it didn't make me feel younger and got their money back. But that's not even the most ridiculous one. You walk into McDonald's holding a Burger King receipt demanding your money back. Sounds crazy, right? Well, that actually happened. And somehow the customer got angrier when the confused cashier explained they were in the wrong restaurant. The best part, they insisted McDonald's should honor all fast food receipts because burgers are burgers. But that's just the beginning of food refund madness. A woman once marched into an ice cream shop on the hottest day of summer, furious that her vanilla cone had melted during her 30-minute walk through the park. She slammed the sticky napkin remains on the counter and demanded a full refund because ice cream should stay frozen no matter what. The teenage worker just stared, probably wondering if this was some elaborate prank. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Then there's the chip situation that still baffles store managers everywhere. A customer bought a bag of tortilla chips, took them home, and returned 20 minutes later complaining they were too crunchy. When asked what he expected from chips, he replied, "Something softer like bread." The man genuinely believed he'd been sold defective chips because they made noise when he bit them. The birthday cake incident takes the crown for pure audacity, though. A family threw their kid's birthday party, everyone ate most of the cake, and the next day they brought back the remaining corner piece. Their complaint? The cake didn't make our son happy enough on his special day. They wanted a full refund for the entire cake because little Timmy cried during the party. Never mind that he was crying because his older brother stole his toy, not because of the chocolate frosting. And the weird part is, some of these ridiculous requests actually get approved. A man once blamed a spicy burrito for making him sweat and demanded his money back. He claimed nobody warned him that hot sauce would make him hot and threatened to leave a bad review unless he got a refund. The restaurant manager, probably exhausted from dealing with complaints all day, just handed him his $5 back. The customer left satisfied, probably planning his next ingenious refund scheme. These stories sound made up, but they're happening in restaurants everywhere. Food workers share these tales in break rooms, each story more unbelievable than the last. What makes people think melted ice cream deserves a refund? How does someone not know chips are supposed to be crunchy? The psychology behind these requests reveals something fascinating about modern consumer behavior. People have become so accustomed to getting their way that common sense takes a backseat to entitlement. They've learned that squeaky wheels get greased, and boy do they squeak loud. Makes sense why restaurants often just give in, right? Fighting a $5 burrito refund isn't worth the potential social media nightmare that could follow. Yet food isn't the only place where customers try their luck with outrageous return requests. Wait until you hear what people try to pull in clothing stores. Food mishaps pale in comparison to what happens in clothing stores. The audacity reaches new heights when fabric gets involved. Take this gem: a customer strolled into a department store demanding a full refund for socks. Not just any socks, ones they'd worn every single day for an entire week. Their reasoning? They don't feel as soft as when I bought them. The cashier stood there, mouth agape, holding crusty, stretched-out socks that had clearly seen better days. The customer got their money back. But wait, it gets worse. Festival season brings its own special breed of returners. One woman dragged in designer boots caked with 3 inches of dried mud from a music festival. We're talking boots that looked like they'd been through a construction site. Her complaint? The leather isn't as shiny anymore. She documented every moment on social media, dancing in the mud, celebrating the mess, yet somehow convinced the store manager that the boots were defective. Refund approved. Then there's the swimsuit saga that defies all logic. A customer bought an expensive bikini, wore it to the beach for an entire vacation, posted dozens of photos online, and returned it claiming the chlorine from hotel pools damaged the fabric. The swimsuit had visible tan lines embedded in it. The store not only accepted the return but apologized for the inconvenience. Here's where things get truly bizarre. One shopper returned silk pajamas after 3 weeks, dead serious, stating, "My dreams weren't good enough while wearing these." The staff initially thought it was a joke. Nope, the customer launched into a detailed explanation about how premium sleepwear should enhance dream quality, citing some dubious wellness blog. The manager, probably just wanting the interaction to end, processed the refund. What makes this madness possible? Over 30% of clothing stores approve returns even when items are clearly worn and stained. Store policies have become so customer-friendly that common sense flew out the window. Managers would rather eat the cost than risk a negative review or social media backlash. The psychology behind these approvals runs deeper than avoiding bad publicity. Retailers discovered that saying yes to outrageous requests often creates bizarrely loyal customers. That sock returning customer, they came back the next week and bought $300 worth of merchandise. The festival boot woman became a regular who drops serious cash every month. Staff training now includes scenarios that sound like comedy sketches. What do you do when someone returns underwear after a honeymoon because it didn't make them feel romantic enough? These aren't hypothetical situations. They're Tuesday afternoon reality. The return desk has become theater where customers perform elaborate stories about why their clearly used clothing deserves a full refund. Store employees play along because corporate policies prioritize customer retention over logical boundaries. But clothing store shenanigans look almost reasonable compared to what happens when technology gets involved. The tech world opens entirely new dimensions of refund creativity that make worn socks seem perfectly normal. Technology stores see some of the most creative refund attempts on the planet. People drop their brand new iPhone in the bathtub during a relaxing soak and march straight back to the store demanding their money back. They'll claim the phone was defective because it stopped working after getting wet. Never mind that water damage isn't covered under any warranty known to mankind. But wait, it gets better. One customer deleted every single file on their laptop, photos, documents, everything, then showed up asking for a full refund. Their reasoning? The computer lost all my data, so clearly something was wrong with it. The employee had to explain that hitting delete all isn't actually a manufacturing defect. Surprisingly, some stores still offer partial refunds for these situations just to avoid negative reviews online. Then there's the pet owner who returned expensive noise-canceling headphones because the bass makes my dog bark. They insisted the headphones were faulty since their dog never barked at music before. What they didn't mention was that they'd cranked the volume to maximum while their poor dog sat right next to the speakers. The store actually approved a partial refund after the customer threatened to leave bad reviews on every social media platform. Here's where things get really interesting though. Some refund requests are so bizarre that they accidentally reveal real problems. One person returned a wireless keyboard claiming it was missing the letter Q. Turns out, this specific keyboard model had a manufacturing issue where the Q key would fall off after a few weeks of use. The customer got their money back, and the store discovered they needed to pull an entire batch of defective keyboards from their shelves. Gaming headset returns tell their own wild stories. People buy expensive headsets for big gaming tournaments, use them for weeks, then return them claiming poor sound quality. What they really mean is they lost the tournament and want their money back. Some customers even return headsets with obvious wear marks, insisting they came that way from the factory. The statistics behind tech refunds reveal something fascinating. Over 15% of all tech store refunds stem from accidental damage that customers try to pass off as defects. Stores know this, yet they often approve these requests anyway. Why? Bad online reviews can destroy a business faster than losing money on questionable refunds. Phone screen protectors create their own refund comedy show. Customers buy screen protectors, attempt to install them in dusty rooms, mess up the application with air bubbles everywhere, then demand refunds because the protector doesn't work properly. Installation mistakes somehow become product defects in their minds. Smart watches returned for not making me smart enough aren't even the strangest requests anymore. One customer returned a fitness tracker because it accurately counted their steps during a lazy weekend and they didn't like being reminded of their inactivity. The most expensive returns often involve gaming equipment purchased right before major tournaments, used extensively, then returned with vague complaints about performance issues. Speaking of expensive refunds and creative customers, delivery apps have opened up entirely new frontiers in the refund game. Food delivery apps changed the refund game completely. What used to require awkward phone calls and face-to-face confrontations now happens with a few taps on your phone. The results? Pure chaos. Here's where things get interesting. Apps track deliveries with GPS down to your exact doorstep. They photograph your food sitting right there on your porch. Yet customers still claim their order never arrived and somehow get their money back. The audacity is breathtaking, but it works more often than you'd think. One driver shared a story that perfectly captures this madness. He delivered a large pizza order, took the required photo, and even waved at the customer through their window. 2 hours later, refund request for missing order. The kicker is that the app approved it. Why? Because arguing with customers costs more than replacing a $20 pizza. Then there's the missing fries phenomenon. You ordered a burger combo, ate the entire meal, but claim those fries never showed up. Apps rarely fight these claims because they're small amounts, but multiply that by thousands of daily orders, and we're talking serious money. Smart customers figured out this loophole fast. The taste complaint might be the boldest move yet. Unlike traditional restaurants where you'd need to explain why your perfectly cooked steak deserves a refund, apps let you complain about taste with zero pushback. Didn't like the flavor becomes an instant refund button. No questions asked, no explanations needed. Well, here's the thing that makes this system even more broken. Apps prioritize their ratings above everything else. An angry customer who doesn't get their refund might leave a one-star review, which damages the restaurant and the platform. So approval becomes the default response. It's easier to eat the cost than risk the backlash. Some users turn this into an art form. They'll order expensive meals, claim various issues, and rack up credits that cover their next several orders. The apps know this happens but struggle to prove intent without alienating legitimate customers who actually experienced problems. But wait, it gets worse. During the pandemic, refund abuse skyrocketed by 40%. Suddenly, everyone was an expert at gaming the system. People discovered that certain complaint phrases triggered automatic approvals. Food poisoning concerns became code for "I want free money." The psychology behind approval rates reveals something fascinating about modern customer service. Apps would rather lose money on fraudulent claims than deal with negative publicity. They've essentially created a system where dishonesty pays better than honesty. Restaurants bear much of this burden. When apps approve bogus refunds, the restaurant often absorbs the cost, not the platform. This creates a bizarre situation where honest businesses subsidize customer lies, and the weird part is how normalized this behavior has become. People share refund tricks on social media like cooking recipes. Try this complaint, it always works. The shame factor disappeared completely. The numbers tell the real story. Millions of dollars get refunded daily for questionable claims, yet the system keeps running because convenience trumps accountability. Speaking of accountability, you won't believe what happens when kids get involved in this refund madness. Kids have turned refund requests into an art form. Last month, a 12-year-old somehow managed to rack up 60 separate in-app purchases on a mobile game before his parents noticed their credit card statement. The family demanded every penny back, claiming little Tommy didn't understand what he was buying. The twist? Security footage later showed Tommy carefully reading each purchase description and even Googling what gems and power-ups would do in his game. App stores approved the refund anyway. They almost always do. The numbers behind kid-related refunds are staggering. Over $70 million in child-initiated purchases got reversed last year alone. That's enough money to buy a small island, and it's all because parents discovered their 8-year-olds had been treating their phones like personal ATMs. Makes sense, right? Kids see a shiny button, they press it. Parents see the bill, they panic. Then there's the accidental purchase excuse, which has become the most popular refund reason in family households. Parents claim their toddler grabbed the phone and somehow navigated through multiple confirmation screens to buy a $100 sword in a fantasy game. One mother in Ohio got refunds for 18 consecutive accidental purchases her son made over 3 weeks. The kid had apparently become an accidental purchasing genius, hitting the exact same upgrade path professional players recommend. Well, accidents do happen, but 18 times? The physical toy returns tell even wilder stories. Kids break toys, then march into stores with their parents claiming the products were defective from the start. A 10-year-old in California returned a remote control car after driving it off his roof, insisting the wheels just fell off randomly. Store employees found tire marks leading straight to the edge of the building, but approved the return to avoid confrontation with frustrated parents. And the weird part is how sophisticated these young refund seekers have become. Some children research return policies better than adults do. They know which stores accept returns without receipts, which apps approve complaints fastest, and even which customer service representatives are most likely to say yes. One teenager kept detailed notes about different companies' refund processes, treating it like a science experiment. App stores face the biggest challenge because children can make purchases faster than parents can monitor them. A single tap confirms a transaction, But getting money back requires forms, phone calls, and sometimes weeks of back-and-forth emails. Companies often approve multiple refund requests from the same family before implementing any blocks or restrictions. They'd rather lose money than deal with angry parents leaving negative reviews. But here's where things get really interesting. Some parents have figured out they can use their children as convenient excuses for their own questionable purchases. Adult gaming addicts blame their kids for expensive in-app buying sprees, knowing customer service rarely investigates family refund claims thoroughly. The retail world's response to all this creative refunding isn't what you'd expect. Instead of cracking down harder, many stores have simply accepted that bizarre household claims are part of modern business. A woman walked into a home goods store carrying a vacuum cleaner. She'd been using it for 3 weeks to clean her entire house. Carpets, stairs, under furniture, the works. Her reason for returning it? It's too good at picking up dirt, and now I feel obligated to vacuum every day. The store manager stared at her for a moment, then processed the full refund. That's just Tuesday in the world of home goods returns. These stories make food refunds look normal. Take the candle enthusiast who bought a dozen unscented candles. She burned every single one in her apartment over 2 months, then marched back demanding her money. Her complaint? They smell like nothing, which is technically a smell. The cashier couldn't argue with that logic and handed over the cash. Then there's the pillow predicament. A customer spent $200 on luxury pillows, used them for 6 weeks, then returned them because they were too comfortable. His exact words were, "I sleep so well now that I'm late for work every morning. These pillows are ruining my career." The store approved the return without batting an eye. But wait, it gets weirder. A dinner party host bought a high-end blender specifically for making smoothies for 30 guests. After the party was over and every guest had complimented the drinks, she returned the blender. Her reason? "I only needed it for one night and now it's just taking up counter space." The store not only accepted the return, but thanked her for choosing their brand for her special event. Home stores see this behavior constantly. 25% of their refunds have absolutely nothing to do with broken products or manufacturing defects. People return functional items because they changed their mind, got bored, or invented creative reasons why perfectly good products somehow wronged them. The psychology behind these returns reveals something fascinating about modern shopping habits. Customers treat stores like rental services without the rental fees. Buy it, use it extensively, then return it when the novelty wears off. And stores? They often say yes because fighting these battles costs more than just eating the loss. One particularly bold customer returned a coffee maker after using it daily for 2 months. His complaint letter was a masterpiece. "This machine makes coffee too quickly. I used to enjoy the slow ritual of brewing by hand, but now I'm addicted to instant gratification. Please refund my purchase so I can reclaim my mindful morning routine." The strangest part isn't that people make these requests, it's that stores frequently approve them. Managers calculate that keeping customers happy, even unreasonable ones, protects their reputation better than standing firm on sensible return policies. These home goods horror stories pale in comparison to what happens when stores face claims about truly defective products. Sometimes the customer isn't even wrong about the item being broken, but their creative explanations for obvious user error reach legendary status. The real question becomes, how far will retailers go to avoid confrontation, even when they know exactly what happened? Ever wonder why stores approve returns that seem completely unreasonable? The answer might surprise you more than a customer claiming their hammer was defective after using it to build an entire deck. Most retailers have discovered something fascinating about human psychology. When customers complain about products, stores often say yes without even checking if the damage was their fault. A woman once returned a coffee maker that clearly had water damage from being left outside during a storm. Her excuse? "It doesn't work as expected." The store handed over her money immediately. But here's where it gets really wild. Vague complaints work like magic. Customers have learned that phrases like "poor quality" or "not what I ordered" trigger automatic approvals. One guy returned a perfectly good drill, claiming it was too heavy for normal use. The tool weighed exactly what the specifications promised, but he walked away with a full refund anyway. Online retailers take this even further. They're absolutely terrified of bad reviews. A single 1-star rating can destroy sales for weeks. So many companies choose to lose money on bogus returns rather than fight back. Amazon once approved a return for a garden hose that a customer admitted using for an entire summer season. The reason? Didn't meet expectations. Then there are partial refunds, which have become the ultimate compromise solution. Stores offer anywhere from 20% to 50% back just to make complaints disappear. A customer bought expensive headphones, used them for 6 months, then complained about declining sound quality. Instead of arguing, the retailer offered half the purchase price back while letting him keep the product. The most shocking statistic reveals the truth behind this madness. Over 50% of refunds get approved without anyone actually inspecting the returned item. Companies have calculated that paying fraudulent claims costs less than hiring staff to investigate every complaint. It's cheaper to say yes than to say no. Major retailers have entire departments dedicated to what they call customer retention through resolution. That's corporate speak for giving money back to avoid arguments. These teams approve returns that would make your head spin. A blender returned with obvious burn marks from being used as a hot plate? Approved. A tent covered in permanent marker drawings from kids? Full refund processed. Customer service representatives often receive bonuses based on how quickly they resolve complaints, not whether the complaints are legitimate. This creates a system where saying yes becomes the default response. Speed matters more than fairness, which explains why obviously ridiculous returns sail through the approval process. Some stores have started tracking what they call serial returners, customers who abuse the system repeatedly. But even then, most companies tolerate incredible amounts of fraud before taking action. They'd rather keep problem customers happy than risk losing potential future sales. The psychology runs deeper than simple customer service. Businesses have discovered that generous return policies, even when abused, create positive word-of-mouth advertising that brings in new customers. While dealing with obvious return fraud seems costly, the real question becomes whether stores are actually losing money or playing a much smarter long-term game. Why do stores keep saying yes to these ridiculous refund requests? The answer isn't as simple as you might think. Companies have discovered something fascinating about human behavior. Happy customers spend more money, way more money. Store managers deal with bizarre refunds daily. They know the ice cream lady will probably melt another cone next summer. They understand the chip complainer might find something else too crunchy next week. But here's the twist. These same customers often become their most loyal shoppers when treated well. Target learned this lesson the hard way. Years ago, they had strict return policies, customer satisfaction dropped. Sales followed, now their liberal return policy costs millions annually, but generates billions in customer loyalty. Makes sense, right? Then there's the reputation factor. One angry customer used to tell maybe 10 friends about bad service. Today, they tell 10,000 strangers online. A single negative review can cost a business hundreds of future customers. Approving a $20 refund suddenly seems cheap compared to losing thousands in potential sales. Most retailers track what they call refund abusers, customers who constantly return items for questionable reasons. Surprisingly, many of these people spend significantly more than average customers. They're testing boundaries, sure, but they're also shopping frequently. Stores would rather keep them happy than lose their business entirely. The psychology gets even weirder. Research shows customers who successfully return items feel more confident about future purchases. They know the safety net exists. This comfort actually increases spending by an average of 30%. Companies essentially lose money to make more money. But stores aren't completely helpless. They've developed subtle countermeasures. Return limits get quietly implemented. Repeat abusers face longer processing times. Some retailers flag accounts after suspicious patterns emerge. The goal isn't punishment, it's gentle discouragement. Customer service representatives receive specific training on handling outrageous requests. They learn which battles to fight and which to surrender. A $50 blender return might get approved instantly, while a $500 television faces intense scrutiny. Everything depends on profit margins and customer history. The data reveals something remarkable about modern shopping behavior. Refund requests have become increasingly creative over the past decade. Customers test new boundaries constantly, pushing policies to their absolute limits. Stores respond by adjusting their tolerance levels accordingly. While the most successful retailers have learned to view refunds as marketing expenses rather than losses. They budget for absurd returns the same way they budget for advertising. Both activities aim to build customer relationships and generate long-term profits. And the weird part is that this system actually works. Despite billions lost to questionable refunds annually, major retailers continue thriving. Customer satisfaction remains high. Sales keep growing. The refund game has become an elaborate dance between shoppers and stores, each side pushing boundaries while maintaining the relationship that keeps commerce flowing smoothly.